On this episode of the Clarity Digital Pod, I had the pleasure of speaking with Juliana Pereira, a seasoned marketing leader, consultant, and former head of marketing for several high-growth tech companies. Juliana's story isn't just inspiring, it's filled with practical insights for marketers, startup founders, and executives who want to align marketing more closely with business goals. Let's dive in. All right, awesome. Hi, Juliana. How are you doing today?
Great. How are you doing? It's great to see you.
Good to see you again. Thank you for accepting my invitation. And we were debating when would be a good time, and it's intended out to be today. So I appreciate your time. If you don't mind introducing yourself for our audience, that would be wonderful.
Great. So my name is Juliana Pereira. I am a marketing consultant for B2B tech services companies and even B2C companies in tech and other products. So I have worked, my career has been unique, I think, to say the least. I started my career actually in a nonprofit at a museum. I was there for 7 years. I was running, by the end, the eCommerce site. And from there, I went to other businesses and worked in some other businesses to build up some B2C channels and lines of business for them. So that was really exciting. I ended up at Ralph Lauren working in wholesale online, which was really interesting. And then I moved over to the dark side of SaaS, where I worked predominantly in localization, so language localization at Smartling. And then I had a really wild ride at Flow Commerce, which was in cross-border e-commerce. And I got there just after the Series A. And in 3.5 years, I was the marketing leader the whole time. And within 3.5 years, we had a $500 million exit, which was just fantastic. And yeah, so then from there, I went to a couple of other post-Series A startups to see the space, to learn the space in a couple of different places, but decided ultimately to be a marketing consultant. So that's where I am today.
Cool. That's great. And having the nonprofit background, B2B, B2C will just make one person to be a better holistic marketer. You brought up a really good topic when you and I were chatting first, preparing for this call, about importance of understanding the difference between functional marketing and business needs. What's the difference between, let me read my notes. Functional marketing versus business marketing.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I see where you're going with this. I've been giving this a lot of thought lately, which has been, so marketing is oftentimes seen as a functional leader, meaning that there's marketing, there's goals, they align with the company. That's amazing. And within marketing, there's a constellation of different activities and programs and campaigns that marketing is responsible for. And there's all different managers in different parts measuring performance metrics and KPIs for their areas. And typically it rolls up to the leadership team really looking at what is marketing contributing from a marketing perspective. The thing is that I have been thinking about how marketing in many places isn't seen quite as much as a business leader. And what that means is that marketing really goes beyond just the different functions within marketing. And it's really something that can contribute to the bigger business. And while that seems very obvious, it's really surprising how a lot of places don't actually think that way. And they tend to relegate the marketing leader and their team to more functional focus and execution focus. So what I mean is, by a business leader, is marketing is at the forefront of everything that's happening, right? We see the market. I like analogies, so bear with me. I think of marketing as the tugboat in front of the ship. So you have the captain, the CEO, and all of that. They're guiding the ship, they're driving it, right? But marketing is in front of the ship, helping to move it along and pulling it along. We're the first ones to go into the storm. We're the first ones that go into the mist. Like, we see the iceberg that's coming. We see what's happening. So we have to start pivoting a lot faster than the rest of the ship. Obviously, we tell the ship, like, this is coming, we got to do this, but we have to move really quickly. And so in that way, we're impacting the business proactively. And we're responding, not just being reactive to what the strategy is. And that's really a business leadership perspective there. And so because marketing really supports the entire business with a focus on the funnel, like sales is our biggest client and customer success is also an equally big client, but we also service the other parts of the business. So we're actually supporting all the strategies across the business, like HR, for example, the product team, I've worked with tech teams that want to build a blog and talk about the cool innovations they were working on. And they come to me and say, how can we do this better and how can we promote it? So marketing is really in service to all these business units. It's really a business leader within the overall business. Does that make sense?
It does make perfect sense. And I can relate to it. Before running my own agency, I used to work for an in-house enterprise SaaS company.
Yeah.
I don't want to name them, but they were on a fintech side. And we did a lot of work in marketing and to drive those MQLs and opportunities to the sales team. The sales did a lot of work to close them. Then the client onboarding would take sometimes months, years, and there were stories of clients backing down because it's just taking too long. And that was just straight out a tech problem. Tech challenges, privacy, more of a security, networking, staff, whatever the problem was. Because especially in financial institutions, in FIs, we call them, there's a lot of little challenges, and especially when it comes to enterprise SaaS. And marketing had to get involved. I was just a performance marketing manager, so it's a little bit out of my pay grade. But I told our CMO, I was like, you got to talk to the CTO, and you got to start seeing how we can improve that onboarding, because that's just not going to do us any good, and it's going to take a while for a client to get onboarded, even if it's somehow our patient. We rely on those reviews and testimonials and case studies for marketing. So yeah, I agree with you. Marketing needs to be involved more with all aspects of a business. But who in marketing is doing that? Is that the entire team, or is it pretty much the CMO, or is that and what do you do in the companies where that culture doesn't exist? That's another question that comes to my mind.
That's a really interesting. So that's two questions. I'm gonna
it is two questions.
Yeah. So the first question. So here's the thing. Again, another analogy. Bear with me. So I characterize myself as a professional like water. I flow into the spaces. Like water just flows where there's no water, right? So I flow into the spaces and the gaps. And at a company like Flow, for example, which I came in super early on, we didn't have a sales leader. It was the CEO and me, a supporting actress, helping him. And then we didn't really have a customer success leader for a little while. And then we did, and we were looking for someone more senior over time. So I had the opportunity to flow into a lot of no pun intended with Flow Commerce, to go into these different areas. And when we did hire a CRO to help oversee a lot of the funnel functions, the way we divided it up was to have the SDRs report into me. SDRs are typically under sales, or very often they're salespeople, right? They're doing a lot of research and they're trying to set meetings and all of that and supporting these deals and opportunities. I also took over RevOps just because of the nature of where we were. And also I had so much visibility into our HubSpot instance and all the CRM, like everything we were doing. It just made sense. And I took that over, hired someone to run essentially marketing and sales ops, which is really RevOps, right?
Yeah.
And that was so fantastic because I could really do my reporting, which I'm sure we're going to talk about in a minute, like kind of KPIs and all that. I could really make sure that soup to nuts, from the very top of the funnel all the way to the bottom of the funnel, it was set up correctly. Because if you have it only set up correctly in the middle or the bottom, that's a problem. So you got to have it from the top and really move down the funnel. And so that was something that I was able to do and have a disciplined process around, so that then we really had accurate reporting, which was just beautiful. So there's things like that where marketing can really flow into the, again, I can't avoid that word, to really be able to have that purview, to be able to, and it has a material impact on the business. So again, going back to that business leader piece, marketing isn't just digital, events, website, nurture. It can also be RevOps. It can also be SDR team. It can also cover other areas too, right? Like I was a marketer at one point in one company I was at. They didn't have a real customer success person. There was a weaker or a more junior sales leader, I'll say. And they needed someone to help see more broadly on the customer success side. So I didn't really take them over, but I was like run that area, but I was deeply impacting the strategy. And
Yeah.
at Flow, another great example, partnerships and channels, like really digging into the strategy, not just the co-marketing piece. So yeah, that's examples of where, like you said, marketing just gets pulled into things, right? And yeah.
And where do we draw the balance? How much we get pulled into these things and how much we actually do the work, like SEO, branding, performance marketing? Like, how do you manage that balance? Because sometimes we do B2B marketing at our agency, and sometimes I feel like we're just focusing too much catering to the salesperson because the salesperson is so set in his or her own way. And then and then all these things are changing on top of the funnel. There's AI, there's competitions are popping out, there's new AI tools are popping out, there's a new consumer journeys. Gen Z is entering the market. I've entered the market for a few years now, and now they're decision makers, especially B2B. There's a lot of stuff that we have to do as marketers, and that's a lot of work. And then SEO is changing and paid media is changing. And now we also have to stay on top of those. And now we also go lower funnel, work with other departments. Like what is a good balance?
Yes. So I think that there's a couple of things in there. So in terms of, so balancing all these things, that's very challenging. So the way I balance it is based off of the greatest need in the company right now, but then also planning for the long term. So when I arrive at a company or in my consulting as well as a full-time employee, I set a strategy very quickly that's 3 paths. The first one is low-hanging fruit. Like, what's going on the website? Why does the form have 1 million fields? Like, versions, like, come on, let's just fix this. We're done. Then there's the short-term plan, right? What's happening this next quarter? Because we got to move quickly. And then there's the longer terms, like the next 2-3 quarters, which again, you have to be very flexible about pivoting there. So depending on the quarter, there's different goals that are lining up to the company OKRs for the year and the company revenue or sales goals, whatever it might be. So I pull different levers. So it might be, so I'll give a great example. So Flow again, they were so early on. It was so exciting. Post Series A, I was employee 31 and I arrived and there were 2 really big important things. Everything's important. I had to do everything. But there were 2 areas that when I really dug into the business with the CEO and the co-founders was we need to get the demand gen engine going. We have enough people dealing with customers right now. We got the whole tech team, the product team. We got a couple of customer success people and customer service people. We got that covered. But the demand gen engine is really key. And the other thing I saw was Flow is the smallest player in the field. So we needed to build authority. We needed to show we were the leaders in the market. So that has a number of activities baked into each of those sides. So I had to look at, okay, what are the biggest, most high impact activities for marketing in those areas? So obviously there is on the very top of funnel, the brand awareness. There was a lot of content development for putting on other sites, for getting our CEO visibility on Women's Wear Daily, which is really important, for doing more press work and media pitches, things like that. So that was important for us to get buttoned up. On the demand gen side, I became my own SDR. And so I had to think about how can I start setting up campaigns and doing them at scale with as much personalization as possible to move as quickly as possible. I really wish I had AI at the time because that would have been amazing, but really hyper targeted so I could start doing those campaigns, but then also supporting the digital side. So we needed to build a lot of content. We need to be really smart about the budget around PPC. And I had to start building the content to really optimize it for SEO.
Sure.
And actually, we did such a good job that even to this day, at least as of a month ago, if you search certain keywords, Flow will come up, and the website doesn't exist anymore, but the Flow it still comes up. Yeah, it's very fun. So really strong work. That's not everything. It wasn't. We weren't really doing a lot of events. We had events in the spring, but that was like Q1 or Q. At that point, I came in Q3, so it was Q3, Q4, like focus. So those are really the most, that was how we did that side, or I looked at that side at the more kind of tactical, trying to get things set up. And then on the other side, there's I'm not sure if this answers the question on the other side, then looking at the longer term, which is, okay, we got a huge event coming in 6 months. We got to build a booth. We got to figure that stuff out. And we got to run a campaign at some point. We have case studies. We have to get our customers more involved. That was definitely something that I was also balancing because I knew that was becoming more important as we were moving along. I did not come in and do a rebrand immediately, even though we needed it. I knew it had to be strategic. And so when I finally convinced the co-founders to go for it. It was when we were in talks, a significant partnership talk, where having the rebrand at that moment was making a very big statement in the market.
Yeah.
And so it's don't do a rebrand just because it's fun and it's, oh, the website looks terrible. Sometimes good enough is good enough. There's other things to put in place and really be thoughtful. And that was a big long-term. I had my eye on that since the beginning, but I was like, I need 2 years. We're not there yet.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't know if that kind of answers the question.
No, it does answer the question.
Yeah.
It does answer the question. You want to prioritize, right? Lower hanging fruit, medium, high. We do the same thing. And when we onboard clients, we actually prefer to work with clients that already have a CMO or some sort of head of marketing. So we don't have to worry about high level strategy. But when we do help on the fraction CMO side, I do the same thing. I have this low, medium, high priority type of tasks that I create like this. I call it the roadmap. And basically based on the roadmap, this is what you have to do. We got to fix your SEO, your technical SEO, crawler errors, whatever, your PPC. Like in case of e-commerce, you're spending 70% on a branded terms. Why? We got to fix that. Fix those stuff first, and then worry about the other stuff.
Yeah, so actually...
You go ahead.
Yeah, one more note on that.
Yeah, sure.
I do help companies now hire CMOs or VPs of marketing, which is great because I get to have a conversation like this, like I get to talk to other marketers and geek out. And I really am surprised by how many, especially sometimes on the director VP level, that oftentimes marketers will come in and be really reactive. And not be responsive or balance the two. And so I actually have mentored a couple of younger marketers or less experienced, more junior marketers that are really rising in their careers, saying, you're going to have to take a weekend. I'm sorry to do this. You're going to have to spend 15 hours and you've got to put together the longer term plan. You have to have something. At least a quarter ahead, 2 quarters ahead.
I recommend that some sort of planned roadmap strategy, whatever you want to call it, because that's where you take you away from being reactive to proactive. When you show your boss, your CEO, the founder, whoever, that you have a roadmap, that's why I call it a roadmap. You have something documented. It could be. It doesn't have to be something fancy. I put mine in Google Sheets, just some conditional formatting done. Then they're like, okay, they give you time. But when you just come in, you're like, oh, we got to do the website, or we got to do this. So document this stuff, plan it out, and you don't have to have fancy tools. And obviously, if you have a road mapping tool, obviously it's better, but you can get away with doing that in spreadsheets. So I agree with you 100%. I've seen a lot of heads of marketing in the startup world that come in and they have to put out fires so they react a little bit quickly. And that's maybe there's something to be said about, the founders being too much in the weeds. I recently worked with a client that we no longer work with. Their owner, like the founder, co-founder, I'm like, dude, are you a CTO? Are you co-founder? Are you CMO? Let me know where I stand, because you're emailing me articles from Neil Patel's website that I'm like, do you trust us? Or if you don't trust us, we shouldn't be working together. And then he hired a head of marketing, worked with us a little bit. And then the first thing she did, she relaunched the website that was already done. I'm like, hey, we got to do the website at some point, but there's so many other things. Like an example you gave earlier, we need better landing pages for our paid media. We need better case studies. We need better call to action stuff. Let's take care of those first, then we worry about rebranding. But anyhow, I've also seen that a lot of that comes from the higher ups, the way they are, especially the startups. Maybe not so much at more established companies. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's tricky. It's always very hard, especially because co-founders, it's their baby.
It's their baby.
Really, and I get it. I've built empathy over the years to really understand, especially coming in so early on. It's a place like Flow where I felt a lot of ownership over what I was doing, the commercial side. And then other people come in and you're like, okay, you're running sales now. It's okay. I can let go a little. So another analogy, sorry, you're going to get a ton of these.
Oh, it's cool.
Yeah.
By the way, for a New Yorker, you say sorry too much.
I know.
I've been to New York. Those people don't apologize.
I know. No, that's probably a good point. I need to disabuse myself of that. But,
no, it's cool. It's a good thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying that it's a bit of something different I'm used to, because whenever I speak with a New Yorker, I'm like ready to be on my toes and not goof up and don't expect any apologies. If they make a mistake, you're not like that. So that's great, actually.
I usually say that as I'm preparing you, and it's like saying, I promise I'm going to land the plane, but we're going to go on a journey together right now. So trust is really like a bank account, right? It's a joint bank account between you and someone else. So you got to put trust in the bank account and build that up, like you're making little deposits over time. So it is one of those things where you really have to, it takes time, and especially with a co-founder. And then when something happens where you are asking for a lot of trust, even if it goes really well, you are taking out money from the trust bank because the co-founder is going to be nervous, right? So if it pays off, trust goes back in. But if it's not quite as strong, it might erode the trust a little bit or draw it out. And with marketing, as we have to test. And that's tough because sometimes it doesn't always land. And so sometimes that makes co-founders question things. And it's, if I didn't test it, you might have done it later with too much money behind it. Like, at least we did a small test. Okay, we learned from it. So let's move on. We now know it's going to work. And especially at small startups, you have to do that if you can do it in a very cost-effective way, which is what I do. Most of my tests work out, which is fantastic. Every now and again, something happens, and then I go back to the vendor and I negotiate the hell out of another program. Got to get a lot of things for free. You figure out how to make that work. And so co-founders do, until they really feel that trust, they will dig in a lot. And I will say it's really challenging. Now, when they start coming with things like that, I got to give an example. I love this example because the CEO is just looking at me like, I don't even know how to respond. The CEO at a company I worked at came to me and said, we're not posting enough on Twitter and we're not posting enough on LinkedIn. And I was like, okay, I hear you. I'm going to think about this. And then I responded to him and I said, okay, you know what the first thing I do every morning, like the first thing I think about when I'm getting ready in the shower and doing my hair and the whole thing, you know what it is? I don't like where this is going. I was like, no, stay with me. The first thing I think about is, on top of the strategy I'm putting together, what is the one thing that day that I'm going to do that's going to move the needle?
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask you right now, is posting on Twitter for our 1,200 followers who are mostly investors and friends of ours, is that going to move the needle today? And he looked at me and he actually said, I really like that. That's actually a great response.
They do respect you when you push back, but reasonably, not just this is my territory. And, you gotta give them. You gotta teach them. You know, when you just say, "Hey, you're stepping on my foot, get away," they don't like it because they're your boss. When you provide the type of reasoning you did, and when you challenge it, and I do. I learned that the hard way, by the way. So I'm glad you just.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, I didn't say it with quite that attitude, but it was definitely something. Even though he and I get along so well and we're still friends. But it was really interesting because I think that was a turning point. I'd only been at the company for a month. And I think that was a turning point where he was like, okay, you know what? She's got this and she's thinking about the business in the right way. So like, this makes sense. And at the end of the day, at a startup, you're moving so quickly that all you want is like lowest level of effort with the biggest impact. So you can do a lot of that and make a really big splash. And he needed someone to say to him, and I said to him, I was like, social is important. We'll get there. But right now, it can't be my priority. The priorities are brand awareness and getting you out there as a leader and building the demand gen engine. That's it. That's the biggest focus at this moment in time. Social will come.
100%. One thing that I've noticed on the startup, the founders care about social because they want to appeal to the investors. It's not really they show the investor, look, we're doing stuff because the investor, they know their revenue is not coming anytime soon or their profit. So they want to see some sort of activities. They want to see blog posts. They want to see the social media. Exactly. So I think drawing a balance where we actually cater, because investors could also be a source of a target audience. So getting to that is important, but how much you do it, I think, and you have about it the right way. Is this really important to be done right now? Can we do something else? I totally agree. That's great. And how do you measure success? KPIs, key performance indicators of your. Not only, obviously, we know that what the KPIs are usually for performance marketing, rankings, traffic, conversions, whatever. But what about the qualitative marketing that you do? How do you report success on those?
Yeah, so follow-up question. When you say qualitative, do you mean more kind of
like alignment with sales, alignment with product, all the stuff you talk about, aligning, helping the business lift up? How do you where do you come and say, hey, how do you take credit for those? Obviously, they see you working, but how do you measure the amount of effort you put that you can attribute to your efforts in your teams in marketing?
Yeah. So usually I answer that question where you already covered one of those, which is there's a performance marketing metric which matters to my team, right?
Sure.
It's like that's functional. We've got to have directional data and measurement to know if those programs are working, because obviously that impacts CAC and all those great things. So we got to think.
Yes.
Then there's the business metrics, right?
Yeah.
So here's the thing. I see sales and marketing as just one team. They work like they work like this, but they also work like this. There is no silo in between.
Yeah.
And pretty much the analogy there, here we go again, is that they're essentially sales marketing is one team with two parents. And so they're essentially like married. And with that, it really, that type of mentality changes everything. And so what I like to do is tie my metrics to sales, which I think a lot of marketing leaders, they're trepidatious because there's a lot of that they can't control. But I think it's really important to the business because then it avoids a lot of conflict. So this is where I look at MQLs are great. However, nowadays, account-based marketing is marketing. You need to know exactly who you're going after, the companies, the lists. And so
you're still selling to people, whether it's B2B, B2C, doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, but it's also like, I'm not going to be selling tech to just anyone in the world. It's not just industries, but I have a specific list. Sales has that list, and we're both going after them together. So anyone I bring in to a meeting is qualified. They should be. Like sometimes maybe someone slips in there that's not, but they are effectively qualified. So with that, I really look at setting meetings and I look at pipeline. So generation as the two biggest measures of success for marketing. Obviously, you also have closed business and retention, but the things that marketing has the most impact on or can affect the best is the meetings and the pipeline, which is also tied to sales. So there's that overlap there. And then of course, like sales is measured on those things, but also more so on the closed deals, obviously. And then also customer success really focuses on the upsells, cross sells, the expansion, the retention, all that good stuff. But we're all connected together on the same funnel. So those are the metrics I really tie into sales because they have the biggest impact on the business. So I could bring you 1 million leads tomorrow. I could pay some money and bring them in. They're not going to be qualified. They're not going to turn into meetings or a very low conversion rate. So I'm less concerned about those and more concerned with MQLs. The reason that I think it's important to look at meetings, and this is actually an attribution piece, is meetings and pipeline, is that oftentimes there will be conflict between sales and marketing around lead source. Who brought in the lead? And the SDR will say, yeah, but I reached out to them 3 months ago. And marketing will say, yeah, but they searched and found us. And then who's going to get the credit? And everyone starts freaking out because they want the credit because they have numbers to hit. I eliminate that because it's okay. I want to see how many net new leads marketing brings in. Yes, marketing lead source, we got to see. Sales lead sources, we've got to look at too. However, there's something called campaign influence. That's a whole point of attribution. Someone might end up in a meeting because an SDR did a great job setting up that meeting, but then the person goes to an event. They attend a webinar. They do something. They download a piece of content. Like marketing, that person wouldn't. That deal is influenced by.
I love that you said that. Yeah, I tell my clients that look. Think of this as a game of basketball. Not everybody's supposed to score. Somebody's supposed to grab rebound, somebody's making an assist, somebody's doing the blocks and stuff like that. Just if you measure everything by who is scoring, then you cannot just hire 5 like Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan's, right? You're gonna have to have different people in your team, and that's just if you look at marketing and sales in that way, then you get the campaign influence. Like where did SEO, especially these days, I think SEO is changing a lot because of AI. It's probably no longer the low funnel channel that you used to have. But it's still very important. You should still invest in SEO, right? Because people are still searching. And is it going to convert? Probably less than before, at least Google, on the Google end. But it will help with the conversions with the ads because people are exposed to your brand already and they trust it.
But AEO is just as important, right?
Yes, exactly.
So it's like, and they feed together.
They feed together, They're 100%. Yeah. So I guess teaching or evangelizing companies to look at things at a bigger picture, multi-touch, what we call attribution, very important. But what about? Okay, I used to be a programmer way back in the days before I got into marketing. And the culture in tech is very functional, meaning that, okay, we either do it or we don't do it. We either get it working or we don't get it working, right? They don't care so much about other stuff. But then marketing is very performance-based, right? And then you know that let's say on a SaaS, for example, or even in e-commerce, in a certain upgrade that you make to your website or to your SaaS product will impact conversions in marketing. How do you navigate something like that when you dealing with someone in a company, CTO of a company, who thinks about just getting things done and getting them working, whereas you are more of a performance goal? How do you make that work? Because that's one of the challenges I have personally had working with tech teams these days. Oh yeah, we don't have time. We're going to code freeze. We're doing this, we're doing that. I'm like, guys, if you're going to code freeze and with holidays coming up and you're an e-commerce website, we're going to miss a lot of this SEO stuff that we had in the roadmap. So I guess my question is that how do you navigate that?
Yeah. So you're talking more about B2C because you don't have code freezes on
you don't have
website.
On a B2B, you don't either. But let's say on a B2B, there's a feature that it will help marketing, that you need it, but then it's just not getting done. And you really want to advocate that, hey, this feature, let me just give you an example. You've heard of SEMrush, SEMrush. Right. They were a great tool, but they were falling behind a little bit on AI stuff. And then people started looking at the other tools and they adopted it. I'm sure that pressure came from somebody. Hey guys, sales, marketing, we need this stuff because people need this stuff. And I'm sure the programmers, the developers already have a log of things that they want to do. So where does marketing influence product and tech?
Okay, there's two ways that I solve that problem because I know exactly what you're talking about. One, I try to limit the reliance that I have on other teams. I prefer to be the team that other teams rely on.
Yeah.
So that I have a little bit more control over situations like that, especially because, as everyone should know this, marketing is the wallet of the company. Again, there's another analogy. Yeah. It's the wallet of a company. Typically we're spending the most amount of money. Tech does too, because they have a lot of tech products and all AWS costs things like Notion, whatever else they're using. But marketing really spends a lot. And I've found in a lot of companies, marketing ends up owning the sales budget, which is interesting. I don't love that I'm fine with that as long as there's a big enough budget for it. But we end up owning the sales budget. And then also the partnership and channel budget, because it's usually a smaller team. So with that, marketing does get up there in terms of spend. And that's fine if you're able to get that from the company. So what I try to do is create more independence for my team so that then we don't rely on the tech team as much. So looking at agencies, if I can't do a full-time hire, because we know full-time hires are expensive. Yeah. And that's in large part how I've been successful as a fractional CMO. It's because companies don't want to hire a CMO all the time because it's a high cost. And so having someone come in the interim, So with that, I like working with agencies and scaling up with them until I can hire someone full time, and the agency will handle the site. The agency will help me choose the right AI tools or get those all talking to each other. My RevOps person, I will stretch them to cover 3 areas, which is operations, reporting, which is typically what RevOps does, but also technology. And so then they can also be that person that's slightly more technical. I also train my team to be more technical. Actually, before AI and all these simple tools out there, I used to make everyone who joined my team go through boot camp for HTML and CSS. I was like, if you're building a site, you have to understand the syntax. It's a language, right? Sure. So it's the phrasing, the syntax. And there's a site where they would then go and take the HTML and style it and make it look cool and different and reflect their personalities. And they'd all come with different styling. In the end, it was really fun. At least I thought it was fun. I don't know if they did. But they learned how to build a website and how it actually worked. And so then that was helpful because then when you learn like a WordPress or a Webflow, especially Webflow is so easy to use, then they can just do it on their own and we are not relying on tech. Yeah. So that's like some of the ways I do it. Also, so on the side where marketing can't do that and they do have to rely on tech. One, I like to build a really strong rapport with them and support them. So like going and offering my support. If I hear that they're looking to do a tech blog to talk about their innovations, I go to them and say, hey, what's the goal? Let me help you. You want to do it on this platform or that platform. Let's get you some SEO. You want to hire people that are really talented. Okay, let me help you with that. Let's post something on are social about that and really make them feel like they matter from a marketing perspective. And then I also have something I call always be negotiating, ABN, which is every single interaction when you're trying to ask for something is a negotiation at a startup.
Sure.
And so if you go in with the mindset of they have needs, they have motivations, I have needs, I have motivations, how do we get to a place where I can help them, they can help me? And coming in with that more collaborative mindset, like less like I'm trying to get everything. It's you come in collaboratively, they respond really well. So I love working with tech teams. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. That's awesome. We are running out of time. I do want to end this with asking you a couple of personal questions, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. When you're not being an awesome marketer, what do you like to do?
So I think it's a worst kept secret at this point. I'm actually a professional violinist. Oh. So I gig at night. It's what the kids call a side hustle. So that's what I do in my free time. I have concerts coming up. I play in New York. I've played everywhere. I played internationally. It's a whole thing. I love it. Yeah, it's just something I've been doing since I was a baby.
I have to look you up. Can I find your stuff online?
I'll send you my private YouTube link.
That would be great. Yeah.
But it's really fun. And so I really love that. I do a lot of community work. I was very lucky that when I was working at Flow during the pandemic, the co-founders were so supportive of all of us doing our own work. And so I asked them 2 days a week that I wouldn't take meetings in an hour-and-a-half period because I would go to the local pantry and soup kitchen to help. So that's really meaningful to me to try and make time for those projects and sitting on the boards of nonprofits. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. Really great stuff.
Yeah.
Is there any book or movie or TV show that you would recommend that you've watched recently, or a book you read recently, or even an article that you recommend? Doesn't have to be marketing.
Okay. A book that always comes to mind, and interestingly, I'm not trying to build myself up too much, but some of the smartest people I've met all put this on their top 5 book list. Is Man's Search for Meaning. And I love that book. It changed the way I looked at kind of purpose and meaning in my life. Yeah, it is Man's Search for Meaning. And it's just an incredible story. And I started thinking about things in a different way, from a different angle. And it really helped me put things in perspective in my life. So I love that book. Gives me chills thinking about it. I should reread it. Another one, I was going through a tough time at a certain point, dealing with personal challenges, but also professional challenges. And a friend of mine, actually someone I interviewed with, this is so interesting, at a job, they recommended for me, because we were having a really nice conversation, this book called Stumbling on Happiness. And that was so great because it talked about happiness on a scale and what that means for different people at different points. And I really, that was so interesting and helped me put in perspective again and frame a lot of things in my life and what that means about being happy in those situations. So I really like that book a lot. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Last question. This one is a little strange. If you could be a superhero, which superhero would you be?
Oh, gosh. I've never been asked that before, if that's possible. Is that possible? I love the idea of flying because it would be so fun to go somewhere. I don't know. I mean, Superman. Is there another one that flies? Supergirl. Yeah. Something like that. I also like the idea of being invisible, which maybe sounds a little creepy because it's like the invisible woman, being able to go places and explore places that maybe are unconventional or people don't want you to go.
Sure.
So I don't know, maybe if I could have a combination of the two, that'd be cool. But yeah, those are the ones that the exploring the world kind of ones, I think. The doing it without people knowing, but then doing it just like being able to go anywhere. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Where can people find you? Is there a website, LinkedIn, and if they're looking for your services?
Yeah, so definitely on LinkedIn. I think my little slash is MJD Pereira. Just look me up, like Juliana Pereira Marketing, and I should come up pretty early on, or I've been told I come up in searches very high up. Actually, I'm coming up on my 1-year anniversary of full-time consulting because I've done some advisory and consulting in the past. So I am launching my brand and my website, which is the name of my company. So jpereiraconsulting.com. So I'm very excited about that. You're not going to find the page right now. It's being built as we speak.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to unveil that with a whole marketing kind of unveil. And it's been so much fun, like working on marketing for yourself. It's a lot harder for a company, I found.
Yes.
So that's been a wonderful project, like stretching me in terms of like my marketing abilities. So.
You don't have to ask for permissions, you just do it.
Yeah, it's great.
Right.
So I'm excited about it. Yeah.
Juliana, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for all the insight and thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Hope we have you again in the near future. You have a great weekend.
Thank you so much, Al. It's great seeing you.
Take care. Bye-bye.